We should open this before we start. Get that opened, you know. How was your birthday?
How was my birthday?
Yeah.
It was legit. I mean, pretty standard. I had to go to work on my birthday, but then I got the next day off because I get one day off for my birthday in the same month as my birthday. It's like a weird thing that my job does, but it's really nice. So
Sounds good.
I took Friday off. Did some streams in the middle of the workday. It was nice.
You did streams and yeah, because you're off. You did a birthday stream.
Yeah. Did you not watch? Oh man.
Bruh.
Leave me high and dry.
I was working, man.
Bro, you just put it on the background. You just listen along. You ain't gotta
see,
glue
this is
yourself
the
to
thing.
the screen.
So remember how I lost my phone last podcast episode?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I don't get Facebook notifications anymore.
Did you get a new phone yet?
It should be coming soon.
Are you back to like the 80s right now without back to being a 90s kid, like living without a cell phone?
Back to the 90s.
Yeah, man, I'm straight up in the 90s. I got computers, Windows 95.
Landline telephone messes up my Windows.
No, I could never do dial-up ever again.
Welcome to A4NB4Y, the Zelda theme podcast that's currently deep diving into Zelda A Link to the Past. In our last episode, we were spelunking into some evil woods, and this week, we're going to be finding ourselves in a not-so-good area related to the village in the Dark World, the Thieves' Town. I'm Cameron Hagee, and joining me as always are my co-hosts.
I'm Ryan Fonzie. I don't like the bright lights.
And I'm Tony Giggles, and I just learned how to pick some locks.
And I always forget to say something after my name when I'm starting.
Me too.
Yeah, so we're going to the Thieves' Town. Guys, I don't even know what the name of this thing actually. I've heard it called the Thieves' Hideout. I've heard it called the Gargoyle's Domain.
The dungeon?
I heard it's called
town?
Blind's Hideout, the dungeon. The town is just Thieves' Town.
Also, Blind's Hideout. It's all there, and I don't even know why I have all these names in my head, but every single one of those I feel like I've read in text somewhere.
Painted on the wiki, and everywhere else I see Gargoyle's Domain a lot more.
I've never even heard of that.
Because,
Right.
I mean, you are inside of a gargoyle.
It's just because the
true.
gargoyle at the entrance. Like, that's the whole... Name the whole thing after that.
Well, there's no gargoyles in there. But,
The name is nebulous, man. It's killing me. But that's where we're going, and it's funny because it's right after we get out of Skull Woods. You just go like 2 squares south, and there you are. Like, you don't even have to do anything special to get here. You just gotta find it.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. I think somebody probably clued me in the first time I played this game, but man, like, you can just walk around and not realize that you can do anything with that because it just looks like a gargoyle statue.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Yeah, there's no immediate hints.
Even though I've played this game before, I knew I had to get in there. I was just like, how do I get this out of my way? And I spent like an hour running around until finally I'm like, I got nothing. So I went up to it and I'm just like, let me in. And it did. Let me in.
The number, okay, I think is like one of the only dungeons where the number is nowhere near where you actually come into the dungeon. So I spent quite literally almost an hour like you did at the northernmost house where that first guy is, who's like, oh, there was a thief who his name was Blind. This used to be his hideout right here. And I'm like, I spent an hour there. Like, what else is there here? There's 2 rooms here. That's it.
That was in the light world though, wasn't it?
That was the light world portion. Then like the dark world portion, you can't even go in. There's got to be something. Maybe dig a hole in the light world and see there's something thief related here. I couldn't figure it out. Finally, the gargoyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of yickety yankety on the gargoyle when we finally realized that's what we have to do, even though it's our umpteenth time playing, perhaps.
Before we get into the dungeon, I'm sure you guys have realized that there's a bunch of ghosts kind of flying around.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research on these ghosts because I like to know the names of all the creatures in this game. And I thought they were just going to be like Gold Poe or Poe variant or something like that. But they're actually called Hayu. They're just Hayus. And I was like, that is 100% Japanese. So I looked it up, the translation of that. The literal translation is swoosh.
Hey.
So
Okay.
Their names are just swoosh.
All right. Sounds good.
Swish is swishing.
And now it got me thinking. I was like, oh man, so like if Hayu is swoosh and there's in Japan when they say, how we say Hyundai, they say Hyundai. I was like, does that just mean like swoosh car or something like that? Sadly, it doesn't. In Hyundai, it's Hyundai in Korea. It's a Korean company, so it has nothing related to do with Hayu. It's not Swish. I thought it was, and I was like so excited. But yeah, the ghosts are called Swish, man.
Nike brand cars. We put the Swish on them. Did you figure out what Hyundai actually was?
No, I did not figure out what it was in Korea. I know the pronunciations of every country now, but I don't know what Hyundai means. Every country has a different pronunciation of that company.
Wow.
Pretty epic, man. Pretty deep stuff here,
I never heard of that.
All right. I mean, don't the ghosts there's like thieves in the town too, like little monsters that when they hit you, you drop 1 million rupees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The ghosts didn't give me too much of an issue because they kind of circle you, but they'll just keep at a like you just kind of keep running, and they usually don't close in time before you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel about it. They remind me
They're
of
pretty
those
lame.
similar ghost creatures from The Adventure of Link when you get towards the end of the game, but I don't remember what those ones were called.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a clue, man.
Yeah, but we get under this gargoyle.
Oh, wait. I guess before we go down, we could also mention that there's a treasure chest game in the Thieves' Town.
There is a treasure chest game in the Thieves' Town. Oh man,
did we cover that already?
We didn't. No, I don't think we did anyway.
I ran into that. And I ran down the middle and grabbed the second chest, like down on the left. And it was immediately the heart piece of the first time I walked in the building.
Nice. I got the heart piece from it, but it took me like maybe 3 or 4 tries.
I got so lucky.
I've yet to do this. I kind of saw it and panicked and then left.
Yeah, it's just a house. I think the sign over the door, at least in my version, has a chest on it.
Yeah. Were there any other important buildings in this place?
Kind of.
I know there was one building you can go into and it had a Mario painting again.
Yeah, there's no one in it. I think there's a chest that might have some rupees and then some pots to pick up.
Yeah, like 300 rupees, right? Like it was some ridiculous amount of rupees in this chest. But there's been a couple of those. Like this time when I was playing, I ran into like a couple of 300 rupee chests and I was like, why? Why are there so many?
Why is this a thing?
I got one of those chests when I was at 960 rupees. Feels bad, man.
Ooh.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm at a consistent 999, and I don't know what to spend them on.
Skyward Sword rules, man. You go over, they just disappear.
Yeah.
Yep.
It reminds me. Remember Twilight Princess? How like if you you didn't have room, you would just close the chest and leave the rupees in it.
That's amazing.
That was a game.
I'll just put this back for later.
It was kind of awkward when you're in the middle of a temple you knew you were never going to come back to. You just be like, okay, I guess we'll never see that again.
Unless it was a 300, you know. Which I don't even know if that game had 300s, though.
Well, I guess now we're heading into the blind gargoyles domain hideout.
Wait, there's more.
Oh.
Okay, do you guys know the fortune teller's house?
Yeah.
It's like north to the right of Village of Outcasts.
Is this going to be the last one?
Yeah.
Every time we go into the temple, everyone's like, I got something.
Wait, there's more. So this one is amazing, though. This is very detailed information. I don't know if maybe you guys know this. There's a rock pile that you can dash into right outside the fortune teller's house that gives you 2 fairies.
Oh, I did do that. Yeah.
And I stay pumped every time because all you do is just walk right back into the fortune teller's house, go back outside, and they'll be there again. 2 more.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember
it's an
that.
endless supply of fairies. So I just fill on my bottles.
It's very convenient.
The dungeon actually had its own infinite supply of fairies.
It didn't it? Bubbles? Or anti-fairies, I mean.
Anti-fairies, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a room I found exactly where I'd have to walk like down and turn like down into the right and then turn left, and it would come right in front of me and I would hit it and then just catch the fairy, and I did that like 4 times to get full hearts and full fairies.
Cool story. We come into this gargoyles thieves domain hideout.
Yeah.
Of Blind, the thief.
Officially.
And the first like 4 rooms, they're all positioned in a 2x2 square.
It's garbage.
It's absolutely garbage, but it lives up to its name because it's this is Blind's hideout, right? Like this is in the light world. There's a guy who hangs out in what used to be Blind's hideout, and he's the one who first tells you about Blind, the thief, and how he really hated light. He didn't like bright lights. He didn't have eyesight that was very good. And we get in here, and there's a lot of bridges that go over where you need to actually walk. So you have to make a lot of blind movements, like right off the bat, like where you basically are walking in areas where you can't see your character. Sometimes there's even like enemies under those bridges too, which makes it even worse.
Yup.
Stinking Zazoks.
You just see some fire shoot out from under like a walkway. You're like, oh, okay.
Or like I've definitely walked under bridges and come back the other side as a bunny rabbit because these things can shoot the sparkles that do that to you.
Yeah.
I also feel like they put those bunny beams in very weird places. Like sometimes it's in the middle of a mess of enemies, and then sometimes it's just in the middle of nowhere and there's no enemies, and it's like, why did you do this to me? This was not necessary.
Yeah, it's just to keep you on your toes, I guess.
And it's like, oh great, now I can't do anything for 10 seconds.
It's just a booby trap, which makes sense with like a thief, you know?
True.
Yeah, this whole area is just kind of like, it's like a mini labyrinth. Like it's just, you don't exactly know right off the bat, like even by looking at the map where the blocks are going to be. So you don't know if when you start on a path, if it's going to end up being a dead end or not. But a little bit of map work, a little bit of walking around, you can pretty much find where you need to go without too much issues. Honestly, everything in this section, just kind of run past because you don't need to fight anything and you don't need to get anything from any of the enemies. So,
or chests even. It's all just rupees.
Yeah. I mean, the fact like you're trying to find the big key basically right off the bat, and that's like the one chest that you need to figure out where it is. So,
and ultimately, the path to that chest comes down to just being one giant circle.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. I don't even remember if you have to go up on the second level at all for that one or not, but
I don't think you do.
You can even skip the compass and the map, which is also in these 2 rooms. You don't even need to get them, but you can if you want.
Oh, it's true. I forgot about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say you probably want to get those.
Yeah, it'd be helpful for later. This dungeon's really not that long, but it is a little bit tricky. It's one of the coolest things that I think I've seen a Zelda dungeon do, like not in terms of being the most visually creative. It's just the way they have you interact with some of the creatures and things in this place is just creative. But really that's a later story point. But we go past these 4 rooms and we get to basically what is a complex of obstacles. A lot of conveyor belts in this place. A lot of like blade traps and little floating enemies that more serve as an obstacle course than they do as actual enemies. I found myself fighting very little in this actual dungeon. There were a couple of those rooms where the doors lock until you defeat everything, but really not a lot of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You could skip a lot of enemies here.
I think like most of this dungeon was fairly easy, even all the way up until we do a few story related points in the dungeon and then get the items that we need to get. All of it's okay. There's just one room that I had so much trouble with and I couldn't do it without taking damage. And that's like the vertical conveyor belt room with all the gibbos, the floating clouds of dust. I couldn't do that room without taking damage. At least getting up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pain. I always at least lost 2 hearts going up there.
Yeah. Luckily, I think that's one of the room that has one of the anti-fairies up at the top. So
Yeah.
I would always if I got damaged or whatever, I'll try to hit that with the magic powder. And if I missed or it hit me or whatever, I would go back out of that room, come back in as many times as I needed to get it right and get the fairy.
Oh, I think that's probably the room that I was farming the anti-fairy. I kept coming in and out of the door at the very top of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty clutch spot.
And when we go through there and come up sort of to a room with one of those crystal switches, I guess you can call it, a small key. We want to hit the crystal switch for later. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Sweet.
And then we go through the door. I believe that's where we get to the first use of furniture in a dungeon, right? Because it's a hideout. So there was furniture in it, tables and such.
I don't remember this room that you're talking about, but
really,
I guess so. You know, I'm looking at the map right now, and I think I see the room you're talking about. There's two tables and some blockades. I actually didn't get to see what that telepath tile was in that room.
Telepath?
Yeah, there's one of the little Sahasrara tiles.
Oh yeah. I didn't do it either.
Oh, the one that's got the keys on it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, that's the one that Zelda says, beware of his trickery, don't fall for his magic traps and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's actually a message from Zelda. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Don't pull the trap that's in that room.
No, there's a bunch of there's a couple spots where I remember there being a key hidden in a skull pot or something like that. There's just weirdly placed keys and stuff, but I don't remember anything too crazy until we get to what appears to be a jail, you know?
Yeah.
There's 3 different doors and you don't need a key for any of them. You can just open them all up like they're nothing.
That's what I think Zelda was talking about with his magic trickery.
Well, hold on, because I don't know the order you did the dungeon in, but I continued along. I kept going past those rooms with you get to the room with the table and you keep going over, and you get to a room with kind of light and a crack sticking out.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that Elden Ring dungeon, if you know what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm talking about. The shadow on the floor. It was kind of cool. You gotta blow up the hole and let the light seep in.
Go through. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you see the crack on the floor and you think, oh, maybe I should bomb it, and you do, you are making progress, but the game doesn't explain why you're even doing that at that point. The first time I came up to the room, I did that. I threw a bomb over there and I blew open the floor, and I was like, okay, I can't actually get over there though. So what was that for?
It makes a noise though. It does tell you.
Yeah, it tells you
that you did something.
But ultimately, you just have to kind of leave the way you came.
Yep.
And you end up finding your way over to this jail cell. At least that's the order I did things in.
Same.
Yeah.
And
Then you have to run up through all the not locked at all locked looking doors.
yeah, and there's a couple enemies in the area, but they're nothing too crazy. And we find the maiden, the fourth maiden, right? Yeah, the fourth maiden. I think my numbers are right. And she basically says like, "Oh, can you like help me get back outside? Like, thank you so much for coming and saving me, etc." So, the first time I ever played this game, before I knew what was up, before I was clued in, I actually tried to take her back out to the actual exit. And if you do this, she'll be like, "Oh, please, no, not that way. Like, I don't want to leave that way." And it was so confusing. I was like, "Who are you telling which way to leave? Like, you said you wanted to get out. This is the only exit." And so I left. Like, I just went out the door anyway, and she does not follow you. You have to go back in and get all the way back. They said, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure I had to go back to the jail cell and get her again.
Yeah, you probably did.
I don't remember if the game was nice enough to put her right at the entrance and be like, "Oh, you're back. Let's find another way out," or something. But I'm pretty sure I had to backtrack all the way. So then you go looking for an alternate exit, and truth be told, like, we had the big key, and if you looked at your map, there actually was a room that had the boss room skull on it, but it was really early on in the dungeon, like,
And it was just an empty room.
and it was just an empty room.
Yeah.
But if you go back there now, there'll be a square of light on the floor from that hole that we blew up.
Woo.
And so if you happen to explore this with the maiden following behind you and she hits the light, her disguise will be dissipated, and this will be revealed to be Blind, disguised as the maiden that he was tasked with guarding. So Blind the thief kind of has a face like a
Ogre?
you'd say an
All
ogre. I kind of see a cat, almost like a bear cat or something.
So when I knocked his noggin off, I honestly thought I was fighting Scarfy from Kirby.
It definitely
that's what
looks
he
like
looks like.
Scarfy from Kirby when his arms kind of look like flames, and he just has like a white tank top kind of going on. He doesn't seem to have any legs though. It's like he's almost got like the body of a ghost.
It's a fashion statement.
Pretty much like a blanket ghost body.
Yeah. But yeah, this dude, I mean, his fight is super straightforward, even though it gets crazy. You just attack his face as much as you can, and eventually that face will pop off of his body and fly around the room, and he'll grow a new head. And this happens until there's about like 2 or 3 active heads in the room, and then he'll go down after that. This is another one, honestly, guys, where I just kind of burned it and just destroyed him without even taking damage. But
I forgot about that thing again.
it makes these fights so easy.
I used the magic cape the second time.
Nice.
I went in with 3 bottles of fairies and full health and beat him when I had 1 heart left, and I didn't even use the first fairy, so I was just like, okay. I had a lot more hearts to burn through, but I guess that's all I needed.
Yeah, he's not a terribly difficult boss.
Mm-mm.
It is cool, though.
You want to do him quick is the problem. Like, if you were to get him to 2 heads flying around the room and, like, slow down and try to focus on dodging, you're just going to wear yourself out.
Yeah.
You got to just tank a little bit of damage and go at him.
Right, and if you don't understand what's going on, like if you try to attack the heads, like they don't take damage.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think I probably did that a couple times my first time, just trying to be like, oh, can I just hit any of these heads and it's fine? No, like the only one that works is the one that's still attached to the body. So,
yeah.
There's that.
So Cameron knows this,
I know this.
but something terrible. Oh, so terrible. Something that just irked the gears, got them spinning.
Yeah, he basically got teleported to Majora's Mask for a second because a terrible fate befell him.
Oh.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, I was playing last night. Cameron, I was chatting through him with Discord, and I got to the boss. I had 6 hearts left from getting through the dungeon. I used it as a trial run. I died. It was whatever. I was expecting to go in and die. Then I went back into the dungeon. Well, okay, I went to go get the fairies from the fortune teller, got 3 full bottles of fairies, came back, was going to create a restore point at the boss room so that in case I somehow died with 3 fairies, somehow, I was like, I'm good. I'm going to just load the thing up like I did Mothula.
I know where this is going.
Instead of creating a suspend point over one of the 4 I have, I loaded Mothula and lost everything that I did after beating Mothula. So I was like, no, there's something like there's something that I can do. I reset the game. I tried to load up where I was. The game was like, nah, man, you haven't beat Mothula yet, man.
Oh my goodness.
My blood was boiling.
Oh no.
I went into that Mothula fight. The suspend point, just no fairies and a full set of hearts. I Super Saiyaned him, beat him without taking 1 hit. I destroyed Mothula. I was seeing red. That's all I saw was red. It was like Goku versus Frieza up in here. I just destroyed Mothula, went back to the dungeon immediately, told Cameron, I was like, I'm going to speed run this. 10 minutes on the clock, 1:30, let's go. Went straight through Big Key, went down, forgot the Titan mitts, went into the boss room, beat him. I think it was like 1:38 when I finished the dungeon.
Yeah,
so I beat the dungeon.
8 minutes.
8-minute run the second time. And yeah, got everything.
Speaking of forgetting the Titan mitts, we actually didn't even mention the Titan mitts last time.
It's fitting because I totally forgot. I got them the first time and then forgot them the second time when I was speedrunning it.
Yeah, it's so weird because you don't need it in the dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was some block somewhere, but maybe not. It's like it's just
because that block can be lifted up with the power gloves or whatever the pre-glove is.
Mayo mentioned something. He's like, I think the game bug is I picked up that block and I didn't have the Titan's mitts. And I'm like, nah, your game didn't bug. You don't need the Titan mitts for that block at all. I picked it up like 4 times before I got them puppies. So you don't need the Titan mitts at all in this dungeon, even for the boss.
So
it's really weird.
That is really weird. Well, I mean, you still want them though for some other things.
Oh, you need them.
Right? Yeah.
Anyways, back to Mayo's story.
Pain. That was Mayo's story. Was pain. I went back in there and beat him without even needing a fairy. Yeah, it was. I'm sure there was something that I did after Mothula, like a few heart containers that I'm sure that I have to go back now and get because I did do some stuff. Can't remember what else I missed other than loading into Mothula, aside from a few heart containers. But yeah, it was painful because I thought that I was like, this dungeon's going to take forever. I'm going to be so sad. I didn't even want to do it. I was like, I'm just going to do it tomorrow. 8 minutes.
Man. All right. Just shows you the difference between knowing what you're doing and doing it for the first time, man.
Yeah. To be fair, I skipped to like everything, like the compass, the dungeon map, everything that I didn't need.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah,
true speedrunner.
just crush it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we defeat Blind, and we find the actual maiden. Like we get our heart piece and the crystal and all that. We find the actual maiden, and this time she gives us a little more history in the game. So it reads, as the wise men sealed the way to the Dark World, the Knights of Hyrule defended them from the attacks of evil monsters. I heard that the Knights of Hyrule were nearly wiped out in that battle. You are perhaps the last one to carry on the bloodline of the Knights. It is ironic that the last one in the line has the potential to become the hero of legend. Surely you can destroy Ganon. And it's all like pep talky in that way. So not a whole lot new, because we already knew about the Knights of Hyrule bit. The idea that they were all nearly wiped out in that battle, and that we might be the only one of that bloodline, it's like, that might be kind of new, because you think, the knights that got brainwashed some of them might have been from the bloodline, or, your uncle probably was, but, he's not around anymore. Just kind of like trying to reinforce that, like, you're a special boy Link kind of narrative that's been going on.
What I'm wondering, well, they keep talking Knights of Hyrule, Knights of Hyrule, Knights of Hyrule. Are the knights that are wandering Hyrule aimlessly not Knights of Hyrule too? I know they're brainwashed, but once you win, I mean, unless they mean just the brainwashing and you're the only one that's not brainwashed, I get it, but aren't they knights too? Or are they just like, nah, those are soldiers, these are knights?
It seems like the Knights of Hyrule, it's almost like a class that doesn't exist anymore.
Like a cult.
Nobody's called the Knights of Hyrule in this day, even though they're dressed up as, like, they have the knight's armor and they're serving the kingdom of Hyrule. They're not considered Knights of Hyrule. I don't know. It's
at this point, it's like the descendants of who used to be the Knights of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Which then begs the question of, why can't Link have a kid? Why does he have to be the last one? Telling me that he goes on and has a kid, that kid's not going to be a Knight of Hyrule? He has to be the last one?
Well, I think it's more of a current statement. Like, you are currently the last one in the line. Like, doesn't mean the line can't extend further. It just means,
Makes sense.
You're the latest thing and greatest in the line.
I'm not gonna lie, I was shipping that maiden that we saved in the jail in this dungeon. I was shipping her and Link. I was like, before I knew, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get you out of here. We're gonna get married someday. I'm gonna save Ganon. We're gonna have some kids. And then all of a sudden, it's like, blind. How dare you do me like that?
Oh no, you didn't heed Zelda's warning, man.
Played with your heartstrings, man.
I didn't even read it this time, so I didn't even know that she gave that warning, but that's funny. Oh man. So let's talk about this for a second. So blind, right? He's a thief. He seems to be a leader of the thieves, at least in this hideout. Like, it's named after him sometimes. I mean, he used to have a hideout in the light world. Here's the thing about like this just strikes me as a little bit weird, is that Ganondorf was the king of thieves, but as we know from the user manual, he killed his entire band of thieves, right? Like, he killed all of them to get the Triforce. So was this a rival group that then joined him, or was this like a later forming group, because this is supposed to be like years and years later? Like, where did these thieves come from? Like, how many bands of thieves could there be?
It's just like the I'm not gonna say it, but it's just like the rival gangs, man. They got the dark mage thieves, and then they got the blind thieves. Two rival gangs.
There's more thieves than there are regular citizens in Hyrule.
Yeah. I thought, didn't it say back when in Ganon's day that tons of different groups of people and thieves were flooding to the Darklands to try to get their hands on the power?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't say that. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure that tons of other groups went, so Blind was just one of those groups, I'd assume.
Wasn't the dude who was playing soccer with the other guy in the first time we ever get to the Dark World? Didn't he mention he was a thief too?
No, I think he's just a bully.
Either that or a bandit.
Okay.
Oh, bully.
I could have sworn he was.
He was the bully, and the ball was the bully's friend.
Oh, could have sworn he said he was a thief.
Silliness. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about, like, there's so many thieves, man. When I think of Blind, I'm like, there are so many enemies and bosses where it really comes across like, okay, Ganondorf came to this world, made it all dark, created these monsters because they're huge. Like, I don't think anybody came to the Dark World and then became Argus. Nobody came to the Dark World and transformed into Mothula. But somebody like Blind came here and became a monster and then decided to join up with Ganon and serve him, So it's kind of unique in that way. Like, this is the only point where we're like, we know the history of the boss we're fighting. And we know that, in the light world, this is a human.
He had a backstory.
Right. Like, he had a whole backstory. He has a whole crew with him. I mean, every one of these little, like, horse-faced mage dudes is probably supposed to be part of his thieves guild, right? Like, isn't that...
The Zazoks?
Yeah. Right?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I could definitely say that.
Because they're not really in a whole lot of other places in the Dark World. It's funny.
Just that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are other NPCs who like talk about being thieves or something, or like, I was a thief, etc., and they don't look like these Zaza, whatever they're called. I don't know.
Sucks.
Yeah, but that's the feeling I got from it, was like these dudes were the gang of thieves, and this is what they turned into.
And the bunny thieves too.
Meanwhile, Blind turned into this weird scarfy creature. The what?
It's like a phantom.
Or not the bunny thieves. I think they're mice thieves on the Dark World Overworld.
Yeah,
in the Village Outcasts. Yeah, it's like another rival gang. It's like this gang turned into mice. This gang turned into weird snake demons.
I just thought it was kind of cool. I mean, going back to what I was trying to like talk about before, with how like a lot of the monsters seem to be like have like some kind of vision theme, or have like a eyeball weakness, or have a visual styling that kind of centers around an eyeball, and how I was like, this all kind of relates back to Ganon's search for the light world. I think the story that Blind tells in relationship to Ganondorf is like, it's like the same kind of thing, right? Like they're both thief leaders, and one could say like Ganondorf was blinded by greed. Like he went and he got the Triforce, he changed this world to his bidding, but he couldn't find a way back to the light world. Like he spent so much time looking. To me, like this is kind of like, the fact that Blind's attack ends up basically being three heads that are all looking around in different directions, as if like they're searching for something, or like they're confused and don't know where to go. When I see Blind, I'm like, this is kind of like Ganondorf without the Triforce. It's just another thief that would have filled the same role had Ganondorf not found it first. I don't know. I thought it was kind of poetic to think of it that way, to be like, okay, Blind and Ganondorf are kind of, they're the same character internally. Like I don't know. Ganondorf, I mean, obviously, like... Yeah,
one just succeeded.
You can imagine in the Dark World he's probably a pig, but just based on the history that you might know. And this guy's clearly not a pig, but he shares a lot of the same ambitions, and he shares a lot of the same faults.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was cool to like think of it that like basically be like, all right, like so he's another thief leader. He came over here, got transformed. He eventually started working for Ganondorf, but at the same time, like he's
can't beat him, join him.
Yeah, it's like he's kind of telling the same story, except he's not the one who actually became the BBEG.
He wanted to be the antagonist, but he just couldn't.
Yeah, and it's funny that he doesn't like bright light. Like that's one thing that it's like, it's just another statement to make, is like Ganondorf can't find the light world, but it's probably because he doesn't know how to find good. Like he doesn't know how to look for the light world, because it's like that's not what he's about. He's never been a fan of the light. But that's just a whole other topic of discussion. But blind to me, he just tells the story of Ganondorf a little bit more. Like had he found the Triforce, he probably would have killed his whole crew.
He's like the story of Ganondorf with failure. Like if Ganondorf failed, that's where he would be.
Yeah,
the boss of a random palace,
hiding underground somewhere,
hiding in his old base in a dark world,
pretending to be a maiden.
Pretending to be a maiden.
So are we, I mean, there's another thief we could talk about, and there's also something else that we could talk about as well. Don't know where we sit with that.
Well, so everything in the Dark World has a light world, like, alternative, right? So that means that Blind's hideout exists in the light world, probably in pretty similar fashion to how it is in the Dark World. Which means that there was, like, a pretty high-quality smuggling operation with a lot of booby traps and a labyrinth and, conveyor belts, which also possibly could have been doubled down as, like, helping to move some sort of cargo and also being booby traps. Like, you don't really hear about that in the world at all, or, like, what happened to that. There was just some thief in the town that was, like, so successful they had this entire giant, elaborate underground setup under the whole town, kind of like in Skyrim with the Thieves Guild under it.
Yeah. He did it so well, they didn't know.
I was going to say, because they said that the building up at the top of the town used to be the hideout. So, like, that would imply the thieves didn't have another hideout. Like, they had the little one, and then they went to the Dark World and made a much bigger one.
That they knew of.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like things that happen in one world are supposed to parallel in the other, but I don't know what to say about that. maybe there's a
hidden floor panel or something.
Yeah, no, underneath the weather vane, there's like an entire cuckoo complex.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuckoo complex.
Some kind of light world version of what was going on there.
Illegal cuckoo smuggling.
It's just a bunch of chickens underground, man, plotting.
The ferry railroad.
They're just lying in wait for Link to make a bad move. Watch him. He hits that chicken. We go.
We're gonna get him, boys.
That's where they come from, man.
I like to believe it's like an under the well situation. It's like under the wind chime or whatever. Just some like dark evil area. We'll never know what's down there.
The secrets that Hyrule holds.
Yes.
Maybe.
But, A Link to the Past 2, The Secrets of Hyrule.
Yeah, but
going underground.
Now that we have our Titan's Myth, though, there are a few things we can do. One of them does involve another thief, which kind of just keeps us on theme, at least for a little bit, because there's more, but it's not really thief related. But from what I understand, I just looked this up earlier today. I think I've actually ran into this character too. In the Dark World, kind of nearby where we found the ice rod, but like in the Dark World version of that area, there is a cave that you can go into that has what is called the storytelling hand. And it's literally just a hand sticking out of a hole in the ground. And he offers to tell Link a profitable story if you pay him 20 rupees. There's a couple NPCs like this in the game that will offer a profitable story or some other, like they'll use different adjectives, but basically they're like, oh, we'll tell you something good if you give us some money. If you don't pay him, he's not going to give you anything. But if you do pay him, he will tell you the story about his own days as a thief. He says that he was once a thief in the light world, and that a lot of the thieves have gone into hiding because they're afraid of being caught. And specifically mentions that one of the thieves was a master locksmith and is now disguised as an average middle-aged man. And so if you put the pieces together, there's, the man by the desert with the sign that says, like, pay no attention to the average middle-aged man.
Yeah.
This is just one of the hints that we get. Like this master locksmith is out there in the world, and he himself was a thief, and he's kind of in hiding, which makes sense. Like he does seem mad sketch to just kind of be loitering there, acting like a normal like to the point where you put up a sign that says, "Hey, I'm normal,"
There's something off there, man.
Yeah, but one of the other things, and this is all related to the same area, is if you go to the fortune teller in the Dark World, like up to the top of the Kakariko, well, top of the Thieves' Town, because it's not Kakariko in the Dark World. But if you go up there, there's a fortune teller who says that basically gives you the hint that the gossip shop has something worth getting or something like that, like has a treasure in store or whatever. And here's the thing, like when I first got this hint, I was so confused because I'm like, which shop is the gossip shop? Like, what does that even mean? I'm like, you're the fortune teller. Like, if I was going to go anywhere for gossip, it would be here. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I went to all the different stores I could find in the Dark World, and not one of them was a gossip shop. Turns out that the gossip shop is destroyed. Like, the gossip shop is actually right where the blacksmith's house is in the light world. But if you go there in the Dark World, you can't get there until you get the Titan's Myth, which is why we can talk about this now. You move a giant block out of the way and you can get over to where the blacksmiths normally are. But in the Dark World, it's just a destroyed building. And if you come here before you talk to the fortune teller, it'll just be an empty destroyed building. There'll be nothing there. But once you talk to the fortune teller and they tell you that the gossip shop has something for you, you go over there and there's a little treasure chest just kind of chilling in the middle of it.
I found this a way different way, but
yeah. So if you go up to it, you basically, there'll be some flavor text about how like you can't open it. It seems like it's locked, like don't know how to get it open. Let's just take it with us for now. And then it'll start following you around, which I guess is like Link dragging it around really, but it does look like it's like a living treasure chest just kind of walking behind Link.
Yeah.
And you can take this thing. I mean, I went via the dark world all the way over there, just, moving stuff out of my way to get to the desert area and then swapping over to the light world to talk to the average middle-aged man who, we know is a locksmith. And he'll pretty much admit to being, he's like, hey, like, yeah, like I actually am a locksmith. Like, I don't remember if he tells you that he was part of the gang of thieves or not. But basically he's like, yeah, you caught me, but like, please don't tell anybody. Like, I'll unlock this for you as long as you keep it a secret. Because he's still trying to be incognito. He's still not trying to get caught for being a thief. So he'll open it for you, and it'll be the 4th bottle. So yeah,
bam,
max out your bottles, folks.
Bottle ties me, Captain.
Pretty good stuff.
I actually found that chest a different way. I do remember talking to the fortune teller, but I actually went to go rescue the swordsmith, find the lost brother. And I went down, I think it's like south of the village of Outcasts. You'll see like a little froggy, and use your new and dandy Titan mitts to lift the rocks. And then you talk to the frog, and he's like, bring me back to the light world, please. So I went, I used the magic mirror. He turned into like a little old elf man and walked him to the swordsmith shop, and then did all that jazz. Got the sword tempered, which is so cool. It turns red now. Red Master Sword. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty dope. And it turns out that's not even the strongest the sword can get. But I haven't done the next upgrade yet.
There's more.
I don't even know if we can get to it yet. I mean, probably because we have every item in the game pretty much at this point, but I haven't done it yet. But I guess there's like a dark world version of a fairy fountain. It's like called something super cool and edgelordy, like the corrupt fairy fountain or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm still on the search for that particular area, but it works just like the light world fountain where you throw items in, you just throw the sword and it comes back like golden and epic.
Yeah, it's golden.
And
golden Master
just
Sword
destroys everything. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I've never actually gotten that one before, so that'll be an upcoming topic of discussion, I think, from my perspective anyway.
I was talking to the swordsmiths, and they said 10 rupees for a nice forge worked master sword. I'm sorry, I was like, can I tip you guys at least 500 rupees, please? Because I'm not having you guys work for 10 rupees. It's just not happening, man.
I mean, you did save the one dude's life. Like, you changed him from a frog back into a human. So
that's meager.
It's one of the weird things. Like, somebody pointed this out in one of the other podcasts that I listened to, that Link can apparently do that. He can take people back to the light world using the mirror, but you don't use it for anybody else. Like, there's a bully and a dude getting kicked around. You don't do it. Like, the first people you see, you don't bring them back. There's a kid playing a flute who's like, oh, I can't play the flute anymore because, he's stuck in the dark world, but you don't take him back.
Only when it suits Link's needs does it.
No, he'd want his flute back, man.
Yeah, it just seems like it's very situational that Link would decide to use the mirror to help someone back to the light world.
It's very selfish.
Just seems like there are other candidates who might appreciate it.
Candidates.
Like trees are like, get away from me. I'm like, hey, wait. I could bring you back to the light world. Like, oh, yeah, for sure. Let's do that instead.
Do that one, please. Where's this Ganon guy? I heard he's been looking for a way back.
Hey, yo, Gandorf, I got this mirror. You want to go back?
Can't believe you never looked at the top of the mountain, dude. It was right there. What are you doing?
You guys become best friends. It shows a little montage of you guys like enjoying nice coffee and
sitting in chairs on the beach drinking mojitos.
Man, I'll never thank you enough for bringing me out of there, man.
I changed my ways. I want the world to be good now. Alternate ending.
And the dark world was changed back into the golden land.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that doesn't happen.
No.
Because Ganon's a bad guy. He doesn't want to be on the beach drinking mojitos.
Oh.
Oh, goodness. All right. So So we got our powered up sword. We saved Frogman. We got our last bottle. I really think. I mean, yeah, I played a little bit ahead, and I'm just gonna say the next place we're going is pretty dope. It's a very interesting dungeon, but we're gonna have to save that for next episode. You guys have anything else you want to talk about with the Titan mitt or anything like that? Any cool stuff that you found?
Teaser for the next place. What in the Chernobyl happened there?
Are you talking about the monsters inside?
But we'll get there when we get there in 2 weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Just some housekeeping stuff. I mean, if you want to reach out to us, obviously our contacts are always the same. We put the correct spelling in the description as always. Reach out for us at A4NB4Y. One thing, Facebook is no longer going to be supporting podcasts past the start of June. So this will be the last episode of A4NB4Y on Facebook. So if you happen to listen to us there, you will have to find a new way to do so because they will no longer support the RRS feed or the RSS feed or whichever one you call it. So our episodes will no longer be featured there. This as our episode 31 will be the final one. So you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, a bunch of other ones. Just as a warning for anyone who does. I don't think anyone does listen on Facebook, but that's okay. If you make it this far, just know that your next step is to find another place. But other than that,
we didn't stop.
If you like the show, you can rate us on a couple of those websites as well, or you can just share us with a friend that you think would like the show. But other than that, thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Did you get all that?
I hope y'all have a good day or morning or night or afternoon or whatever time of the day this is.